much for having me. Well, what's going on? Nothing much. I'm just chilling out here in Germany at the moment. It's springtime, getting close to summer. It's quite warm. But yeah, looking forward to much warmer weather and hanging out a lot outside. So
Yeah, I always love talking to my friends in Europe and all the other places in the world, pretty much aside from the US that use, the metric system. And I'm like, what's the temperature there? And they're like, it's like 20 degrees Celsius. I'm like, man, that's
yeah,
freezing. Like, but wait a second. That's not Fahrenheit. I think that's actually pretty good.
yeah,
But I'm not
that's
sure.
pretty good. Yeah,
So,
yeah, it is.
tell everybody what you do, man, and how you serve so that,
Yeah, sure thing. So I am a retail business coach. So basically, I help retail business owners improve their cash flow and profitability. Retail's my jam because when I used to live in Australia, Kevin, up until about 6 or 7 months ago, before we moved to Germany, and I'm sure we can unpack that later on if you like. But I used to buy, sell, and run pharmacy-based businesses for the past 15 or 16 years, and retail's my jam. And so basically, after I sold my last business, when we made the decision to move to Germany, my wife's from Germany, and Melbourne, Australia had this amazing restrictions in terms of the pandemic. So that was one of the reasons why we left to come to Germany, because you had crazy restrictions, like you couldn't leave the house for more than an hour. You couldn't move out of a 2 kilometer, in our case, radius. I think that's what, 1 and a bit miles for you.
yeah.
So it was all all
Wow,
that
that's
crazy stuff.
wild.
It's really wild. And my wife's family are from Germany, so usually she flies back and forth often. We were unable to do that, and we thought, let's make a sea change. Let's change the way we want to do things in life and what we want to experience. I think I mentioned to you before, freedom and adventure is my number one value, and it happens to be out very high on her values list as well. So yeah, I decided to sell my business. She quit her job. We sold the cars, rented out the house, put a few things into storage, and we moved to Germany. And when I sold my pharmacy-based business, I was working with a business coach at the time, Glenn. And Glenn was like, so what are you going to do when you get to Germany, Alvin? I was like, I've got no idea, man. I might maybe buy another business, but I couldn't buy a pharmacy because of the legislation. I wasn't trained as a pharmacist in Germany. But I thought I might get into an online business. And he suggested, he's like, Alvin, you were a really good client. You were able to implement and simplify things and work. I think you'd be really good as a coach. I was like, Glenn, nah, dude, I'm going to try something else. But I sat on it for about a month or so, and I realized, yeah, this is, one of my other values is service or giving back, and like you mentioned, how you serve. And I love helping people. I guess as part of being a pharmacist and wearing a white coat, right, you're always helping people, and that kind of DNA is kind of in me now. And so, if I can help other retailers, grow their business, manage their cash flow and profitability, then that's great. And so here I am. That was a long way to get to where I am.
No, that was beautiful. And I was thinking as you were talking, if I ever go to the pharmacy, at least here in the US, like it seems like it's just chaotic. Like even when it's not, perceivingly that busy, there's not a line of people, but it's always busy and everybody seems very stressed. And, I've come across, a really, really kind, person working in the pharmacy, the pharmacist or, one of the assistants. And I could
Yeah.
see just how tired they look and like, but they're still like, finding the heart to like help me and, understand whatever it is I'm trying to understand. And so I think it's such a beautiful way to serve people, helping people, heal and feel better and really cool. Is that kind of why you got into it?
Well, that's not why I got into it. No, we can touch on that, but I just wanted to highlight, what you guys call in the States, I think frontline workers and what we call healthcare workers obviously have taken the brunt, during this whole pandemic thing. And the same thing was in Australia as well. I noticed the same thing continuing on here in Germany. There's just such a strain on healthcare from everyone to nurses, doctors, pharmacists, the whole gamut. And it's still happening. As we're, as in healthcare anyway, we're trying to figure out how we move on to the next stage as the pandemic is dying down. So yeah, it's still, I look at my colleagues, my ex-colleagues, or my cousins in pharmacy land in Australia, and yeah, they're still having a really, really tough time. one of the main things they're dealing with is, you know, a lot of burnout, which I know is happening in the States as well with the healthcare frontline workers. It's like, you know, it's really hard to get really good staff, and, you know, because everyone's sort of kind of like done, man. We've had 2 years of non-stop, you know, looking after people with very minimal breaks and that kind of thing. So it's been pretty crazy. So yeah, everyone's doing it really tough. So I guess all I'm trying to say is a little bit of a breather for the guys, you know, when we go into our next healthcare provider next time, just to say, yeah, thank you, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
help me understand a little bit better how,
Mm,
you know, as a retail coach,
mm.
what that kind of engagement looks like when you're working with one of your clients.
Yeah, sure thing. So thanks to the magic of the internet and Zoom and online, and as a result of the pandemic, I work with my clients online. So basically, retailers or business owners come to me when they're usually in a cash flow situation, when they're running out of cash. And so that's when they sort of reach out to me, and I help them. That's my expertise, is cash flow, and as a result, driving profitability. How we work together, really great. I mean, I work in a group coaching format, which I love, um, because you know, I get to work with my clients online, like I mentioned. Plus, I'm also creating this, I guess, you know, for lack of a better word, global community of entrepreneurs, you know, like a little tribe. And it's really awesome to, one, be part of a tribe, and two, to, you know, I guess sort of lead a tribe through transition, as they're transitioning through their, you know, business journey, if you will. I remember I was part of a tribe. I still am part of a tribe with with one of my business coaches, and we have a little mastermind team that I'm still regularly in contact with. We bounce ideas off, and I just think the first time I came across a mastermind or a tribe as such, it really blew me away, because, you know, there were just like people that understand what I'm going through, right? None of my friends knew what was going on in my business at the time, and just a great way to connect, share ideas, and be vulnerable, and have somebody understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in a mastermind currently myself, and I
Yeah.
totally understand. You know, it's so nice to have people who aren't competitors, but, you know, we're running towards common goals. And, you know, like,
Yes.
am I totally crazy with this?
Yes.
And they're like, no, 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 it's great. You know, or maybe do this or whatever, and just helping us see kind of, you know, like, we're so pressed up against the glass of our own life. It's hard to see
Totally.
everything, and, you know, so many moving parts as business owners, and, you know,
Absolutely.
it's wild.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's not always a lot of support. Or probably as business owners, and I know I certainly did earlier on, is like, I feel like there is not enough support. But really, you know, if we just ask and share, and you know, we really get to meet some people that, you know, I find a lot of successful people, whatever success means, you know, and they're happy. They actually want to help other people out as well. It's a beautiful thing. So, you know, I've always found that, and that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why it's so phenomenal to either be a part of a mastermind or to lead one. You know, that we do
Mm,
masterminds as well. We're launching our next one next month, and like, it's
awesome.
so phenomenal to get to see the growth inside, and to get to see,
Yeah.
you know, over and over again, you know, the same but different results. You know, people going so far past their current belief limits, and really just unlocking parts of themselves that maybe they haven't given themselves permission to open up yet. And, you know, it's beautiful.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Yeah, a lot of it is mindset and giving ourselves permission to do so. And yeah, yeah, well said.
So when people come, you know, to you to be a part of your group, like, what would you say like the big transformation or transformations are that they're looking to create as a part of the work that you guys do together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, people always come to me when they're in trouble. And, you know, the first step is always to get them out of a cash flow situation and improve their profit. But one of my sneaky tricks is, what they don't realize while they're going through that process is, you know, one of my abilities or my skill sets is the ability, you know, is to work with your mindset, and also to simplify the things that we need to do in our business. So people come in wanting a strategy, which is great. We give them strategies, you know, we help with their cash flow. But, you know, one of the first steps I do take before we start delving into all the stuff that we do with a retail business owner is to get them to take a step back and sort of have a look at, you know, what you want out of life. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to create? What makes you happy? And you know, that's always a big surprise, you know, for a client of mine, right? Because they're like, hang on, I just want to get my cash flow. sorted, or when I get, I've got this situation happening in my retail shop. So that's always a big surprise, and weaving that into one of the very first conversations.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's it's pretty much where we start too. Because like
Yes,
if we don't know what we want, like how do we know what action to take to go get it, or how would we know if we happen to get it? And
yes,
like left without clear direction, as humans, we usually wander around in circles, whatever our circle looks like. Maybe it's an oval, but then we go back to what's familiar, even if it's not what we want. And so I think that's a really, really powerful place to start. And that alone probably, is worth the price of admission for people, just clarity.
absolutely. Yeah, because I think I don't know. I often get the perception when I first start to have these conversations that a lot of people think it's a little bit woo woo. It's a little bit I don't know if this is kind of like a gray, funny kind of area. You want to talk almost like talking about emotions and that kind of thing. But really,
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
once we get into and I think people are scared because we've never really many of us have never really looked inside, right? And figure out, look, what do we really want? I mean, many of us are driven by what we need to do. We need to, we've got a family to take care of. We've got to buy the house, got to buy the car, put the kids through school. And then we're constantly moving, driving. And then if we're running our own business, then we need to be in the shop, in the store, whatever, doing everything all the time, just to continue to sort of feed what we think is we need to do, or what our happiness is. So I think it's that missing piece, because once you sort of have a vision for your life and you kind of understand, like, what is it you want to experience, what are your values are, what's important to you, then we can start to work backwards, and really drive your business forward. Because all our subsequent decisions, and I'm sure you do this with your clients too, Kevin, all the subsequent decisions that we make revolve around what we really want out of life. And this business is a vehicle to help us do that.
Yeah, and that's such a great point because, and you kind of touched on that earlier too. It's like, it's not just about business. Yeah, it's a business, mastermind, but how I do anything is how I do everything. So if I'm getting better
Yes,
professionally, I'm definitely going to have reverberations throughout my personal life, and like
yes,
the big four things, that I see people really transform in our groups. And it's probably really similar to you is, freedom, right? Of time,
yep,
and that freedom of mindset, right? Like not having the worry, the doubt, the blaming, the complaining, the defending. And then like,
yes,
somebody tries to give you a compliment, you deflect it because you're like, no, 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 that's not me. I'm not worthy. And so it's like time,
yeah,
mindset, relationships get better, and, more money is the byproduct, right? Even if it's not the
yes,
goal, because, it's so phenomenal when you're working on purpose as your most authentic self, like flowing, every action's flowing from that one purpose you have. Like it's really powerful, the results you can create in such a short amount of time. And, like your health gets better because you're less
yes,
stressed and you have actually time to go work out or, whatever. And then,
yes,
especially you start becoming a really high earner. Like, man, I want to be around for a long time. 'Cause I'm, creating all this wealth, and like I want to like be able to help a lot of people with it, or whatever.
yes. And
So
enjoy life at the same time, right?
yeah,
Because
like
I mean, and be happy, like, figuring out what happiness is for you. And it can be a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? And there's no judgment. It's basically taking the time to understand what you want. Yeah, it's so powerful. Well said too, by the way. I love it.
yeah,
You
well, I
added
feel
that
like
very
I'm
well.
talking to myself here. So this is really cool. And I love the word happy that you used because that's one of the
Yes,
words I'm like, hey, like who doesn't want more access to happiness and more happiness and more aliveness? Like I feel like
yeah,
I'm alive and I'm happy instead of like unconscious. Like I was unconscious
yeah,
from like 15 years old to about 30. I was just doing
yeah,
what like I should be doing. Actually, I wasn't even doing that, right? I was just like
yeah,
just doing life, and I felt like I was doing time. Like fortunately, I've
yes,
never really done that, but
yeah.
I felt like I created this like fake world I lived in that just I didn't want to be a part of. And
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going through that, and a lot of people perhaps don't really want to wake up or don't realize they need to, and they're caught in that, lack of a better word, that, what is it, that rat race, or that wheel that just keeps going around and around until they hit some sort of breaking point. And I'm a little bit Buddhist in my thoughts for a few reasons. And I would probably argue that some people don't get to the realization maybe during this lifetime, and maybe maybe next lifetime they come back and they're like, okay, I can start to look at this stuff. But otherwise, some people just go straight through, and crash.
Yeah, well, the thing that I see getting people in trouble, especially with mindset, is when they just believe every single thought they have. That like, well, I had this
Uh-huh.
thought, it must be true, and then they just start the worry machine, and they have worries about the worries, and it's such a big, massive circle. And like there's some worry that's real, like if my house is on fire, or if
Yes,
I'm bleeding, I need to maybe worry about
getting
that a
chased
little
by the
bit.
lion. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Like, unfortunately, that hasn't happened to me yet. But I would definitely be worried if a lion was chasing me. But like in the world we live in, there's like I think the question we need to ask ourselves when you start worrying is like, okay, like is this reality for one? And then is
Yeah.
there anything I can do about it right now? And if there
Yes.
is, do it. Like worry
Yeah.
solves nothing. And
Yeah.
oh man, I think that's a brilliant thing that you're helping people with. Because
Yeah.
I can teach you all the tactics in the world, but if your mindset's not right, you're going to revert back to the old habitual behavior.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So that's what I think is the most common surprise when, when potential clients or retailers come to me. And we just walk through a simple process, really. I think the main thing is, which, as you probably know as well, is just having somebody to walk you through this process and bounce ideas off, or providing a framework. Because, it can be a little bit daunting if you do it on your own. You're like, am I doing this right? You can go down a few rabbit holes, if you will. But, having some sort of structure and, like almost an accountability type of partner in this situation just helps you get a lot better clarity, right? And quicker. Like, I think as coaches or mentors or consultants, whatever you want to call us, that's why we're here, right? We help you to get results a lot quicker and hack the curve, if you will. Yeah. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. And that's like the whole point. Like I've worked with a lot of different coaches, been part of a lot of different groups, and even the ones that I didn't feel like was maybe the best fit or whatever for me, I still got a ton of value out of it
Yes.
because it's that coaching environment, where the sole purpose is to help you get what you want. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
a really cool place to be when you have somebody who's completely unbiased, or the only bias is, towards whatever it is, helping you see what being more powerful looks like, and really
Yes.
doing it in
Yeah.
a way that doesn't make you feel like less.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And I mean, biased towards your success, right? So whatever that looks like to you.
Yeah. So what do you think one of the biggest things that slowed you down as a, business owner was, like in the beginning or even currently?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the beginning, because I was relatively young when I got into business. I was 27 years old. I graduated pharmacy school, went overseas, came back. I didn't have any money to buy my own business, so I hustled my way in as a junior partner into a pharmacy partnership with two slightly older dudes, and it was great, right? But when I got in, 27 years old, I was really excited. I wanted to make a lot of money. That's just, I don't want to deny that. Like, I just wanted to go
Sure.
boom. But I had
Retire
no
at
idea.
30,
Like,
right? Life is
yeah,
good.
exactly, right? Yeah, I mean, you need a motivation, and, that's what motivated me back then. But I quickly realized, like, I'm a scientist, I'm a pharmacist. I've got, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know how to do anything. And so, I was very fortunate in the fact that I've always been okay to get help. So I sought a business coach. And, we kind of worked together, and, we were able to grow our businesses pretty quickly, buy and sell. And, when we decided to end that partnership, and go our separate ways, I was still using a different kind of a coach. I've always used business coaches just to help me, with my perspectives and thinking. So I've always had help along the way, and I found that to be super, super useful for me.
Yeah, and like man, like I said a minute ago, I think that's such a brilliant piece of advice. Like, you just got to find somebody that, resonates with you, that you feel safe around, and you feel, connected to, their vision, and,
Yes.
feel like what's important to you is important to them. And
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. That word resonate, like you said. There are so many coaches out there, right? There are so many people out there that are, that want to help you. And I think one of the best ways is, it's just like how you resonate with a friend or a colleague. There's got to be that really good fit, and then, the two of you can start to jive together. So I think that resonance is super important.
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk cash flow for a second. I want to make sure that we leverage your expertise for all the fine
Yeah, cool.
folks listening out there. So what would be the best way to track and forecast business cash flow?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the best way to do it is the way that I teach my clients and the way I work with my clients, the way I was taught, and to do it very, very simply, right? I think quite often as business owners in general, we overcomplicate the cash flow piece. And I think it's because maybe, we get the reports from our accountant every quarter or perhaps our bookkeeper every month, and it gets bundled in, the cash flow statement gets bundled in with all the other statements, and we're just like, what is all these numbers? No one really takes the time to explain it to us. And we're like, okay, we'll just put it to one side and continue working in the business. Okay. So that's what I think is the cause. And so what I'd like to do is just keep things really, really simple. So we track it and we record it using something like Google Sheets or Excel, something really simple. And, you can use, I'm sure your accounting software has got MyOb and QuickBooks and all the other ones, Zero, I beg your pardon, have got really good reporting tools. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I just find it gets a little bit complicated. Let's keep it simple. So anyway, what do we do? We just, and I recommend, especially in retail land, we do this weekly. So we get much better insights into what's happening in our business. So all we're doing is recording for the previous week what cash came in, so our income or credits, depending where in the world you are, what we paid out that week, or your expenses or your debits, whatever you call it in that part of the world. And we just make sure that that end figure marries up with what's in our bank account, so we know we've done it correctly. And then it's really as simple as that. And once we start recording for, I recommend we start recording for at least 12 weeks. Within 3 weeks, it's going to be like you're wearing X-ray glasses, right? As a business owner, you're just going to be blown away. And all we're doing is just simply taking the data from one place to another, making it nice and easy to read. But you're going to start to notice like, oh, we paid electricity last week, for instance, $100. And then, every third week we pay, I don't know, this supplier. Oh, that's interesting. Just little things like that. And then it gets really exciting when we start to forecast. Because, once we've got 12 weeks of data, it's going to make it, with a high sense of confidence, with high probability that we can start to predict the next 12 weeks. Because, most businesses work in a sort of a cycle, mostly. And, what happened the previous 12 weeks is probably going to be close to what's going to happen in the next 12. So you can really start to forecast it that way. So that was my long answer to say, we're just recorded really simply, Google Sheets, Excel, keep the numbers simple. But the main thing is you need to be doing it weekly,
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of brilliance in what you just said. I mean, for one, anything you're doing, you need to keep it simple because,
Yes.
Leonardo da Vinci, right? Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Like
Well said.
if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it yourself. And,
Exactly.
complexity always leads to confusion, especially when it's about finances and that's something you're already sweeping under the rug. If you go out and make it more complicated, you're definitely not going to want to do it. And
Absolutely.
I'm speaking from personal experience on that because
yeah,
yeah.
Totally, me too. I mean, I was in the same boat, right? Like, I'm making money and I don't need to worry about this stuff. And I was putting all that stuff. My bookkeeper was giving me all these reports and my accountant was giving me all these reports. I was like, screw that. I'm not going to do it. But
yeah, they've got it. They've got it, right?
yeah. They've got that under control. And then all of a sudden, you're like looking at your bank account and where's the money gone, right? And then you're starting to pedal backwards and trying to figure out what's going on, which is when usually, you put up your hand.
So I want to go back. You mentioned that people come to you when they're running out of cash, but
yeah,
like when, if somebody's listening out there, when do they know that, like before they run out of cash, that it's appropriate to engage with, a coach like you?
Yeah, sure thing. Look, I'm probably going to be a little bit biased in what I say. Is just I think cash flow and profitability are the fundamentals, the business basics, right? And it's something that you need to be across in your business, and it doesn't matter whatever business you're in. I just happen to talk the retail language really well because I've been retail, but cash flow and profitability are the fundamentals of all business. So very early on in your piece, if you want to be growing your business, if you want to be working towards selling your business, just anything, I think it's the foundations that we need to sort out, and you really need to understand. And it sort of helps clears up your books and gives you really good focus for your business. Because really, if you're not working towards profitability, via cash flow, you're just working on revenue, which is great, which is a good metric, but really it really doesn't pay you at the end of the day or pay your bills.
So as a retail, business owner, or maybe just any business owner in general, like what would you suggest if they, are asking, how do I increase my profitability?
Yeah. Okay. This is a great question. I think one of the most obvious things, which is the scariest thing to do for a retailer, and I think across in most industries, is to raise our margins. I think we're really, really scared of raising our prices, because we're really worried about what the market will think. And and there's that high perception that, we won't sell our product or service because the product is high. So look, in retail land specifically, there is a process you need to go through. You can't raise your margins across everything, but you need to have a process that you work through to know which products and services to raise your margins on and by how much. So, that's where it becomes really important to work with somebody to help you do that. Because, like most things, I guess, in the market, especially in retail, there are perceived prices on things, especially in your industry. Everybody knows perhaps that, a can of Coke costs X amount, or a white t-shirt is like $10. So do you know what I mean? So there's known products in the marketplace that your clients and customers know the price of. So maybe you don't want to increase those prices too much, but certainly, you can work around that. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not unique to retail by any means.
No.
It's like, and myself included in the past, I'm like, I don't want to like raise prices because I don't want to price people out. But you know what? If I keep, pandering to the middle, then, then I'm treating myself as average. And if I want to be above average, I need to treat myself above average. And, I deliver, well beyond average results. And so why wouldn't I charge for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So can we talk one more technical question, then we'll go into a little
sure.
fire round and bring this thing in for a landing. But I want to talk KPIs, or key performance indicators.
Yeah.
And so could you just talk around that? Because I would imagine that's probably somewhere where you spend a little bit of time with your clients.
Yeah, just a little bit. Right. So KPIs, or key performance indicators, as business owners, we need them. Why do we need them? Because these key performance indicators are levers in our business that we can start to manipulate to drive our business forward. So I don't know, as retailers, we often forget about KPIs because we're so stuck in the weeds of running our business ourselves in the day to day. There are some very simple KPIs that I get my retailers or business owners to track. And we can talk about that. But I guess one of the main things is with respect to KPIs is, you've got to pick some metrics, and I recommend we pick no more than 10. Usually 6 to 10, I think, is the sweet spot. Because you've got to be looking at this stuff weekly. And what I like to do is I like to get my clients, and what I used to do myself, is your KPIs, they need to be pictorially represented on a piece of paper, right? Somewhere you can put in the staff room, in the office, something that you can see weekly and you can see the trends, and not overcomplicated with numbers and stuff. So I think that's the major thing. We need to keep it simple and don't go overboard with the KPIs, and then look at them weekly. And then from there, we can really start to make some decisions on, how we drive our business forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting the whole team involved by putting it somewhere where everybody can see it, it's so important that everybody understands. And because so often, people on a team look at the business owner like, he's like a millionaire, and like, oh, it's all good. And all the time he's swimming in money. And the business owner is like, dude, I'm not even making a profit. Like, I'm paying to run this business, sometimes. And so that's beautiful advice. And so let's do this. I want to go into the little fire round with some quick questions, quick answers. Cool. But first question kind of parallels the last one. What would be kind of the first piece of mindset advice, or you would give someone who's looking to just improve the way that they operate their business with regards to cash flow?
Yeah. Okay. So mindset advice with cash flow. Love it. Okay. So the first thing we would do, I think I spoke on this earlier, is let's start to figure out what you want out of life, what your values are, what do you want to experience, what your hobbies are. And, I guess it all boils down to what makes you happy. So that's the first step that, I would usually walk my clients through. It's tough, but it's the first step.
But it's so powerful because, what makes you happy? I mean, that's where your genius lies. That's where you're going to be
Yes.
able to serve at an extremely high level. That's cool. What a great answer. Thanks, Alvin. All right. What's something in your life that's non-negotiable?
Oh my God, non-negotiable. My non-negotiable is my freedom. Like I love to travel. I love to experience things, and you know, there's a non-negotiable for me, even on a daily basis, is to make sure that I set aside time to do all the things I love. So like reading, and I try and make sure I shut off the laptop. Monday to Thursday at 5 p.m. So because I guess I've got a lot of stuff that I want to do, experience. So these are all non-negotiables for me. Make sure I get to do them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's skip ahead a couple of questions. What does freedom
Uh-huh.
mean to you?
Oh, dude. So freedom to me means freedom forms a part of my happiness. It means I'm not constricted. It means for me, I can do what I want when I want, and really express myself in the world today that's not bound by anything, right? And that was one of the situations I was stuck up against in Australia. I wasn't free. I was stuck in my business. I usually, you know, because of the pandemic and it was so busy, etc. I had to go back and work in my business, help my team out basically because of the staffing thing, and I really didn't enjoy it. And I guess freedom to me is being on my own terms, being able to dictate what I want to do and when I want to do, and that helps me have a really nice and clear and happy mindset.
Absolutely. And then again, that's where you're going to create your most authentic work and really serve
Yeah,
people at extremely high level.
yeah.
What's a favorite book to read, recommend, or give away?
Ha! This is hilarious because I just did a book review last week, and I've been talking about it and recommending it a lot. So I'm going to go with that. And this is "Show Your Work" by Austin Kleon.
Yeah, good book.
Great book. Have you read it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he
Awesome.
lives
Awesome.
3 hours south from me in
Oh,
Austin.
no way.
So yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
cool.
very cool.
So I really like this book because one, it's applicable to everybody, and of course, I have a retail take on it. However, it really helped me understand why it's important in the current economy that we're living in 2022. Why it's really important that we share what we do with others, the behind the scenes stuff, as a way of connecting with our clients and customers.
Yeah, that's a really cool book. Gosh, I read that
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. I think I want to go back and look at it again. He's got another
Yes.
one, Still Like an Artist, that's pretty good too.
Yes. Yes. I haven't read that one yet. I've got it on the list. So
Yeah, he's so cool. It's just very conversational, straightforward advice, and yeah, seems like a cool dude. All right, what's one?
exactly. Yeah, and
What?
what I love about him, I beg your pardon, was he simplifies everything, right? And I love that simplification, that ability or the art to do that, because it's something I'm constantly working on, is simplifying my life and the way I communicate and do everything. So, and yeah, really clear action steps. I loved it.
Yeah, and I love that you've used the word simple or simplify so many times because that's like one of the main things I always keep in front of me and in front of my clients
Mm,
because it doesn't need to be complicated. Like keeping it really
yeah.
simple is a very freeing thing. And it's like there's a great quote out there that said, "Perfection is attained not when there's no more that we can add, but no more that we can take away." And
Ah,
I think that's
awesome.
brilliant. Like,
That is so
yeah, like
good.
what do I need to stop doing? Because
Exactly.
I
Yes,
just
love it.
I want to be productive, not busy. All right.
Yes. Yes.
What's one message, if you could give it to the whole world, what would that be?
Yeah, I think work on your happiness, work on your mindset, try and figure out what makes you happy, and chillax and chill,
Yeah, yeah, be cool.
Yeah.
Right? Not so complicated. All right, cool.
No,
Last question, Alvin. Where can people go to learn more about you and engage with you?
absolutely. So you can find me everywhere on all the social media channels, LinkedIn and Facebook, usually where I hang out a lot. Uh, Find me, Alvin Nasi. Send me a message. Tell me you heard me on Kevin's show, and we can continue the conversation from there. I'm sure there'll be links in the show
Yeah,
notes.
absolutely. We'll link it all up in with his bio and the show notes for you guys. And I was talking with Alvin a little bit before we got kicked off, and man, what a great guy. He just, big heart, big brain. It's the kind of person
Thank you.
that I love to do business with and love to do life
Awesome.
with. So I'm grateful for our time here together today. You want to give everybody a parting shot and we'll get out of here?
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Alvin. Man, you were a lot of fun. I'm really grateful that we
Likewise.
got time to connect and share with all the folks that are listening. We love you guys. Thanks for listening.